signed now. We signed it in Versailles. Why we signed it?
The choice of Versailles as the venue for the signing of the U.S.-Iran agreement has become a major talking point, with experts highlighting the symbolism of a palace historically associated with diplomatic settlements, capitulations, and major shifts in global power. The memorandum was signed during the G7 gathering in France and brought an end to a conflict that had dominated international diplomacy for more than 3 months. However, attention quickly shifted from the ceasefire to the concessions within the document and the contrast between its provisions and earlier U.S. war goals. One of the most significant moot points at this stage is Iran's ballistic missile program. President Donald Trump has said it would be unfair for Iran not to possess ballistic missiles when other countries maintain similar arsenals.
You said you don't find Iran having ballistic missiles. Can you elaborate on that? I want to make sure we understand everything.
No, I'm saying that if other countries have them, it's a little bit unfair for them not to have some. A ballistic missile is not the same thing as what we're talking about when we talk nuclear. But if Saudi Arabia and Qatar and they all have some, I would say in relative proportion, I think it's okay. That's what I mean.
Trump's latest remarks marked a notable departure from previous American demands and fueled accusations that Washington had retreated from one of its principal objectives. The agreement leaves Iran's missile program intact, while allowing negotiations on broader security arrangements to continue over the next 60 days. Notably, the destruction of Iran's missile program had been one of Israel's key objectives when it launched its war against Iran alongside the United States on February 28. Now, several critics have raised an alarm, saying the outcome falls well short of the conditions discussed during the military campaign and bears little resemblance to earlier calls for Iran's unconditional compliance with U.S. demands. However, Trump, for his part, has clarified that the program would remain a subject of follow-on talks agreed by both sides. Hours after Trump's press conference, Iran's foreign ministry announced that the text of the Memorandum of Understanding had been officially signed by the presidents of both countries. Trump later confirmed this following a dinner with French President Emmanuel Macron at the Palace of Versailles. An American official told Reuters that Trump and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian signed the agreement after it had first been digitally signed on June 14th by U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Iran's chief negotiator Mohammad Bakir Kalibov. The signing was witnessed by Trump. Before the war, Iran is believed to have possessed the largest ballistic missile stockpile in the Middle East, estimated at between 2,500 and 6,000 missiles of various types. Some of these missiles were even capable of reaching Israel at ranges of up to 2,000 kilometers. Others were equipped with cluster munition warheads that are more difficult to defend against. The Islamic Republic is also known to be a major producer of long-range drones, particularly the Shahed one-way attack drone, which has been used by Russia and Ukraine and by Tehran in regional operations. Nearly 1 month into the conflict, American officials familiar with the developments on the ground had claimed that around 1/3 of Iran's missile arsenal had been destroyed, while another third was believed to have been damaged, destroyed, or buried. On May 14th, U.S. Admiral Brad Cooper told Congress that Iran's ability to manufacture and stockpile missiles and long-range drones had been set back by years. He'd also told the panel that more than 1,500 missiles and 6,000 drones had been intercepted by the United States and its allies during the conflict. While the exact size of Iran's remaining arsenal remains unclear, the country, however, reportedly retains the ability to strike American allies. On June 6th, Iran launched missile salvos at Kuwait and Bahrain, and a day later, it fired missiles at Israel, though the targeted states reported no significant damage from the attacks. Versailles occupies a unique place in modern history. It was in the Hall of Mirrors that the Treaty of Versailles was signed on June 28, 1919, formally ending the state of war between Germany and the victorious Allied powers following the First World War. Then U.S. President Woodrow Wilson played a central role in those negotiations. The treaty imposed territorial losses military restrictions and reparations on Germany, and remains one of the most controversial diplomatic settlements of the 20th century. More than a century later, just days before the anniversary of that treaty, President Trump signed a 14-point agreement with Iran at the same palace in an effort to end the Gulf crisis. The decision immediately attracted attention because of Versailles' association with Germany's humiliation after the First World War. As Trump departed Versailles following a dinner marking the 250th anniversary of American independence, reporters were seen rushing with questions on whether he had signed the agreement. Trump responded in affirmation while specifically noting that he had signed the deal in Versailles.
You signed the deal?
You signed the
MOU?
It's signed, yeah. We signed. We signed it in Versailles. Why we signed it?
With Trump declaring in March that there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender, observers are now saying that the final agreement represents a significant departure from that position. Analysts contend that the deal leaves major issues unresolved, including Iran's missile program and broader regional security concerns. According to these critics, the agreement creates the prospect of months or even years of continued uncertainty across the Middle East, despite the 60-day framework for follow-up negotiations. According to experts, key disputes, ranging from security in the Strait of Hormuz to questions surrounding Iran's nuclear activities, remain unresolved and could continue to shape regional and international politics long after the agreement signing.